Welcome to episode 367 of the 2-Minute Warning. Today we're looking at the best wide receiver entering the 2021 NFL Draft. NFL season is over. Bucs won the Super Bowl. Free agency and the draft are next. That's what we're going to be focusing on. Lots of talent coming into this draft. It is a quarterback desperate draft, but don't ignore the receivers coming in, such as Devonta Smith, Jamar Chase, Jaylen Waddle. We're even going to consider Kyle Pitts. We're going to look at who's the best weight. But before we get into the topic, question for the video, of course, Devonta Smith, reigning Heisman winner this year in college football, one of the few receivers to win Heisman Trophy. Who was the last wide receiver to win Heisman in college football, and what was the year it was won? It was quite a while ago. To give you guys a hint, way to get into this topic, who do you think is the best receiver going in this draft?
There's a lot of talent coming in, but there's really three big names at wide receiver: Devonta Smith, Jaylen Waddle, and Jamar Chase. Personally, I didn't watch Jamar Chase too much when he was playing. Obviously, I did get to see some glimpses of him in the national championship. He had Joe Burrow, an absolute stud at quarterback, passing to him. I think that personally, Devonta Smith upped his draft prospect to number 1 this season because of the fact that Jaylen Waddle and Jamar Chase were not able to, or did not play much this season. Jamar Chase opted out, which I don't think was a terrible idea. I get he was really concerned with COVID and all that, but it did drop him a little bit. I think that if he had played and had another good year, he could be in front of Devonta Smith right now. But as of right now, if I'm drafting, I'm going to take Devonta Smith number 1. I think that his speed and pure athletic ability at catching the football is what puts him up there. And then Jamar Chase and Jaylen Waddle both. Waddle coming off an injury, I think that's going to drop him down a little bit. I would put him at number 3 and Jamar Chase at number 2, just because Jaylen Waddle has had an injury all season. He did try to play through it, but we saw him limping in the championship game, which was not a good sign. I don't think NFL teams are going to want to. They don't look on an injured wide receiver very well, but obviously everybody knows he has talent. He was the number 1 wide receiver going into this year over Devonta Smith, but we saw Smith just take absolute leaps and bounds this year when it comes to his athletic ability. 2 guys I also want to talk about coming out of Florida. Kyle Pitts, obviously a tight end. I think he is one of the best prospects other than Trevor Lawrence in this draft class. I think that he's probably number 2 in my opinion. Has the ability to catch just about every ball. He is absolutely massive. He's too big to be guarded by cornerbacks and too fast to be guarded by linebackers, so he's a mismatch just about anywhere. And I think that if he was playing tight end, he would be just up there with the 3 big names I just mentioned. And then a sleeper coming to this draft is Kadarius Toney. A video went viral of him absolutely cooking some defenders at the Senior Bowl. Of course, he did drop the ball, but it showed that he has talent, and I think that really brought him into the eyes of a lot of the teams that were able to see him. He was able to showcase his ability. We saw it a lot on display this year at the Florida games, but I think that greatly helped his prospect. I would put him at number 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue against Devonta Smith. I mean, look at the amount of records he put up this year. He was a great piece of why Alabama won the whole thing. Of course, you got Nick Saban and Mac Jones doing work themselves, but Devonta Smith was a huge factor this year. I'm really not a big fan of Jamar Chase sitting out this year. I wanted to see how he would do. We saw Devonta Smith emerge the year later when he's not in the same competition as a healthy Jaylen Waddle, as a Jerry Jeudy, as a Henry Ruggs. When he was a star guy, he was able to step up and show that he is a star guy and be better than everyone else. Jamar Chase was able to pretty much do that last year with Joe Burrow and show that he was a number 1 even with the talented guys around him. Thaddeus Moss was on that team.
You think he was better than Justin Jefferson last year?
No, Justin Jefferson. I do think in the biggest game of the year, Jamar Chase, I do think stepped up a little bit more. But either way, whoever you want to say was better last year, Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, this was the year to show how good he could have been as the number 1 top guy no matter what. I really wanted to see that of him. Yes, I understand him not playing, but I do think I'm not a huge fan of it. I guess even if he was stepping in and playing, he wouldn't have the same amount of numbers just because Joe Burrow wasn't there, and no one's really close to him as a college football quarterback, of course. So not a huge fan of that, but also Jaylen Waddle, no NFL scout or NFL team wants an injury-prone guy. However, I could see him dropping in the late of the first round and possibly be a diamond in the rough. If he could stay healthy, this might just be a college thing. He might pan out to be the best of these 3. So for me, I'd probably go, to be honest, Devonta Smith, Jaylen Waddle, just because of the potential he has and him slipping late into the first round, and then Jamar Chase 3, and then Kyle Pitts number 4. Kyle Pitts could even be number 3 or 2, but just I'm only putting him there because this is more of a receiver talk. The fact that he's even in this conversation is a good thing. Kyle Pitts, huge talent, and if he switches to the receiver in the NFL, this could change this entire discussion.
Yeah, I agree. I disagree with the Jamar Chase. I think that we saw how awful the LSU team was this year. They really struggled at the quarterback position. I think they switched between 3 different guys, and I think that if he had a struggling quarterback throwing to him, it would have greatly diminished his numbers and could have dropped him down even more. And I think that the COVID was a good excuse to opt out of that shitty situation he was going to be in. But you said Jaylen Waddle, end of first round. I think Kadarius Toney is the big sleeper in this. I think that he could go late first round. I think he could even fall to the second round. And any team who is lucky enough to say get him, a team that did really well this season could pick him up for cheap. And I think that he would be a great addition. He is by far one of the shiftiest players. He's very difficult to tackle in the open field, and I think that really improves. If he can work on his hands a little bit, I think he's going to be a star in the NFL and shine greatly. But these other guys, we know what you're going to get with them, and I think that Kadarius Toney still has a lot more potential that has been yet to seen. One of my biggest concerns with Devonta Smith, I think a lot of people have said this, is how skinny he is. He's very, I don't want to say fragile. We saw him take a few hits, but I think that he's going to need to put on some size, and that would decrease his speed a little bit. So I think that if teams are looking for an overall wide receiver, I would go with Jamar Chase because he is extremely fast and has a little bit more size to him over Jaylen Waddle, over Devonta Smith, but we've still seen Smith go and get those contested catches. So I think that it's a very close battle between those two for the number 1 spot this year.
Yeah, overall, it'd be pretty cool to see if Jamar Chase reunites with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, or if Devonta Smith reunites with Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. That would be the ideal situation for me, just because it's a cool, fairy tale storyline in a sense. But the odds of that happening are pretty low, just because it is kind of a fairy tale story. But I'd love to see Kadarius Toney fall to a second round team that already has a good team, maybe like the Colts, who have good receivers who don't have their star. Maybe Kadarius Toney could develop into that, or just any team that's just ready to win now. I'd love to see Toney go to and just make them that much better. And then Kyle Pitts, he might become a number 1 target for any team in the NFL. And then, of course, like I said, Jaylen Waddle, diamond in the rough for any team that's lacking a receiver and is willing to take the risk.
Yeah, overall, very, very impressive wide receiver draft class this year. I'd not be surprised if we saw 2 taken top 10, 3 if you had Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, agreed. For the question of the day, the last receiver to win the Heisman Trophy outside of Devonta Smith was in 1991, Desmond Howard. Thanks for watching, guys. 2 in the morning.